Hi, my name is Phoenix Jett-Dias, and welcome to my presentation on the Motor Free Visual Perception Test, 4th edition, MVPT 4. All right, to get it started, the objectives of this presentation are to provide an introduction to the instrument, its purpose, the constructs, and the population in which it's normed. And then I'm going to offer you a test evaluation of the psychometric properties. So, specifically, we will look at validity and reliability, and I'll back that up with some strengths and limitations of the construct, followed by an administration procedure where I will administer some sample items on my son Jaden, and then I will do a run through of an interpretation and scoring some data that I fabricated. They're not Jaden's real scores, but they're scores that I did just for demonstration purposes. All right. So that said, let's go. Okay, so the Motor Free Visual Perception Test, 4th edition, is a standardized norm reference assessment designed to evaluate visual perceptual abilities without requiring motor involvement. Because no drawing, tracing, or fine motor output is required, the MVPT4 isolates pure visual perceptual functioning, making it especially useful when evaluating individuals with motor impairments, developmental coordination difficulties, cerebral palsy, orthopedic injuries, autism spectrum disorders, and suspected learning disabilities. The MVPT4 is appropriate for initial diagnostic evaluations, progress monitoring, IEP 504 eligibility considerations, neuropsychological baseline assessments, and OT treatment planning. So the MVPT4 measures global perception, visual perception, including the ability to discriminate visual forms, identify shapes and patterns, interpret spatial relationships, match figures, maintain attention to visual details, visually scan and select target stimuli. The construct domains are visual discrimination, figure ground perception, visual closure, visual memory, spatial relations, and form constancy. However, even though these are domains of the the test, it actually is a unidimensional measure, which means that they're all composited into one score. Um, I'll get into more about that later on. Okay, so the target population is children and adults ages 4 to like all the way up to age 95. And it's especially good for individuals with suspected visual perceptual delays, neurological injury, learning disorders, ASD, ADHD, or motor impairments. And it's typically used by school psychologists, occupational therapists, neuropsychologists, educational diagnosticians, and rehabilitation specialists. All right, so moving on to the psychometric properties of this measure. It tends to have good reliability and validity. The internal consistency Cronbach alphas typically run between zero point 0.8 to zero point 0.9 across age groups, which is really good. It even has adequate to high test retest reliability with correlations between 0.75 and 0.90 depending on the age. And then it also has good interrelator reliability because mostly the questions are yes, no, or correct, incorrect. All right, so the content validity, the items reflect established components of visual perception. Construct validity is good as well. Factor analyses show a unidimensional measure, broad perceptual ability factor, which I mentioned in the previous slide. Um, so that as a unidimensional measure. It has good construct validity, and it has strong correlations with other perceptual tests. Criterion related validity is moderately correlated with academic achievement measures requiring visual processing. It's also useful for identifying children with certain disorders, but it's not a diagnostic tool. So, some of the strengths is that it's motor free format, which is great. It has, so basically, it measures visual perceptual processing without requiring motor responses, making it appropriate for students with fine motor difficulties. It has a broad range. It's It has quick, simple administration. So it typically only takes 20 to 25 minutes to administer, and it's straightforward instructions with minimal materials, and it has easy scoring. Raw score equals correct items. It has strong normative data. Like I said, it was uh, it was conducted on or normed on a diverse U.S. regions, multiple races, genders, and SES groups, and it was administered on individuals with and without disabilities. So it supports fair comparisons for peers or to peers. Like I said, it has the solid reliability. Um, it's a useful screening tool, so it effectively identifies potential visual perceptual weaknesses in reading, tracking, scanning, figure ground, and visual closure. So it helps determine whether OT or additional evaluation is needed. And it's appropriate across disciplines. So it can be used by school psychologists, OTs, neuropsychologists, rehab professionals, and developmental specialists. The limitations um, the limitations are it only provides a single composite score, like I was telling you before, and the earlier versions included subtests like spatial relations, figure ground, and those types of things. But the MVPT4 eliminated subscale scores and reduced the diagnostic precision. But again, it is a good unidimensional measure, um, but it's a limitation to not have that specificity. Um, it also has a forced choice format, which may inflate scores. So, four answer options increase chances of guessing. Children with attention problems may guess instead of process visually. So, there's some room for error there. There's limited functional interpretation. So, it doesn't directly measure reading fluency, writing accuracy, visual motor integration, tracking across lines of text. So basically, it's going to need a supplemental tool, probably like the Woodcock Johnson, or something similar. Not the DOS. Okay. So, like I said, it's not a diagnostic tool, and it cannot diagnose visual perceptual disorders, learning disabilities, visual neglect, motor issues. It only screens for visual perceptual processing. Also, there's possible ceiling effects. So, gifted and high functioning or older adults may hit the upper limit, the ceiling. So, it reduces sensitivity for mild deficits as well. And then finally, I think um, there's some cultural and linguistic bias, and I think this is true for any of the tests, especially the ones that we've gone over in class. Although norms are diverse and test stimuli still reflect the Western visual conventions, so limited research on CDL populations outside broad categories. And by CDL, I just mean cultural and linguistic. Um, I guess to close here, One of the strengths I said was that it's a motor free format, but I can also see that as a limitation because while motor free is a strength, it also means you cannot evaluate handwriting, drawing, or eye hand coordination. So you, like I said before, have to pair it with another measure if you want to find out those domains. Okay. So administration, general instructions for administering it is to sit the client comfortably at a table with the stimulus book directly in front of them. You explain, you will look at pictures and choose the one that matches the sample. You do not need to draw anything, just point to the correct answer. They can also say A, B, C, or D, or E. Um, so you provide practice items and you ensure that the examinee demonstrates understanding before moving on. So it's okay to tell them they got the practice one correct. It's okay to give them validation there, but when you're actually administering the test, you want to refrain from that. And the materials needed for the MVPT 4 are the stimulus book, the response booklet or answer form, a stopwatch, pencil, and that's it. Okay, so the standardized procedures, one is to present each item one at a time in the stimulus book. Client points to the correct choice, usually A through E, and the examiner marks correct or incorrect on the record form. There is typically no discontinue rule unless the client is highly disengaged, and the total administration time is generally, like I said, 20 to 25 minutes, which is so much better than how long it takes to do the wood. Well, not well, even the Woodcock Johnson, but I meant to say the DOS or the Waze. It's faster than all of those, so it's a lot easier to score than all of those as well. So, reminders, do not provide feedback like good job or that's right. Maintain neutral tone. Do not allow the client to trace shapes with their fingers. Ensure consistent distance and lighting. And for younger children, provide behavioral prompts without indicating correctness on the items. Okay, so now we're going to play this video. Hi, Jaden. Today we're going to be doing a lot of things, and some of those may be hard. Some of them may be easy for you because you're really smart, but sometimes people don't get all the way through, and that's okay. So if you don't know the answer to something, that's fine. I just want you to try your best, okay? Okay. So now we're going to start, okay? And look at this. See this? Now find one that is exactly like it here.
It's D.
It's D. That is
Yeah.
right. Good job.
I obviously know because I can recognize the picture by its like
Okay.
what it looks like.
All right. Which one of these is different
This
from
one.
the other? Which one's that?
See.
See?
Jinx. Oh yeah. Okay. If you're asking
Which
if
one of these are different?
that one and that one.
So which one?
These all have two, and two. So this is free. So yeah.
Okay, you see this? How many circles do you find here? It could be a different size, but it has to be the exact same shape. How many circles?
Like it could be like that.
It can be any size circle,
Like that.
like big or small, but it has to be the same shape.
So it can be long.
It can be big or small.
I found one, two,
I'm going to show you a shape, and then you'll find it on the next page. Look at this one. You see the shape? So on the next page, I'm going to want you to find that, okay?
That one.
Okay.
Okay.
Look at this one.
BXG. Down.
B. Okay.
I don't know why I just button.
Look at this one.
Okay, it has the whipped ears. Yeah. Yeah. Down. I mean, that one.
Okay.
Just give me a second to look. Okay,
5 seconds.
Hi, Stefan.
You see this one?
Down.
Okay. If we finished drawing these figures and didn't move any of the lines, which one would look like this? Just like this one on top.
A. Yeah, A.
All right, so scoring procedures. The types of scores is the raw score is the number they got correct. And then that score is scaled or standardized depending on the age norms. And then you go for percentile ranks, an age equivalent, and sometimes a visual perceptual index composite score. So, how the scores are derived is that you count the number of items answered correctly. You convert the raw score into an age norm standard score using the manual's tables. Then you identify the percentile, the descriptive range, for example, below average, average, or above average, and then the age equivalents. Some common errors are allowing tracing or touching stimulus items, giving feedback after correct responses, presenting items too quickly or slowly, not using the appropriate age norm tables, recording responses out of order, and allowing environmental distractions, kind of like when your cat comes and crashes the party. All right, so a good interpretation will include the test's purpose, the score results, range classification, functional meaning, age appropriateness, and then any recommendations. And I'm going to do a sample of that. Like I said, I fabricated Jaden's data, and here it is right here. So on the left, you see the motor free visual perception test protocol. And on there, you can see it has Jaden's name, his gender, his A or his grade. Um, then it would normally say the school or facility and the examiner. Reason for testing. Jaden was 9 years, 9 months, and 20 days old when he took the fabricated test. And his score was 30. Well, it's not a fabricated test, but they're fabricated data. Sorry. um, so the raw score is 30, a standard score that would convert into a standard score of 102 based on the tables, and then that percentile rank is 55, and that's an age equivalent of 10 years and 5 months. So the standard score confidence interval, I looked at the 95% confidence interval, and you can see over on the right hand side, that's where I calculated the confidence interval. You go to age 9, and then you look, and it's 15.47. So you add and subtract that. And then you can also convert those to standard scores, which I have an interpretation for as well. Where did I put that? Okay. So a standard score of 102 falls within the average range of visual perceptual functioning. when compared to same age peers. The 55th percentile means Jaden performed at or above 55% of children his age, indicating a typical performance for his age range. The score is very close to the normative mean of 100, suggesting age appropriate development of visual perceptual skills. So the functional interpretation is that like his strengths are that he has age appropriate ability to interpret visual information, and he had a solid performance on spatial reasoning, visual discrimination, figure ground relationships, and visual closure. Even though they're not broken up, he still did well on all of them, hopefully, because they're not, it's a universal or a unidimensional measure, like I mentioned earlier. So skills are adequate to support classroom tasks such as reading and tracking text, copying from the board, navigating visual material, and recognizing patterns and symbols. So those are some of the strengths. And basically, what this profile says is that there's no indicators of concern. So there is no evidence of visual perceptual deficits. Basically, his performance aligns well with age expectations. And the confidence interval meetings, like when you convert them to the standard scores, would be like a standard score of 87 to 118. And what that means is it reflects the range in which Jaden's true score likely falls. This range still sits entirely within the average to high average span of functioning, further supporting stable and typical visual perceptual development. So, for as far as an age equivalent interpretation, the age equivalent of 10 years and 5 months suggests Jaden's performance resembles that of children slightly older than he is. Okay, well, thank you for listening to my presentation, and I look forward to hearing your feedback.